Noah from Spanky the Sparky. Today we have a guest that you saw in the past, Mr. Diarmid Campbell out of IBEW 520 in San Angelo, Texas. Diarmid, how's it going?
It's going good. Thank you for having me on again.
Good.
So, as y'all know, with all the trades, right, we are hitting a shortage. We got a lot of the older brothers and sisters retiring, and I know will be 44 this year. When I was coming up through school, it was always told to me, don't go blue collar, always go that white collar college route.
Yeah.
Well, we've created that shortage, and in Texas, they are trying to look at ways to meet that demand, which I understand. The issue, though, is I don't feel that they're going to the sources that have been doing this. The IBEW has been around since 1891. One of our founding fathers was right outside of San Antonio. He's from here. So with that, you would think that we would be able to be at the table for this discussion, but unfortunately, it seems like they are looking to higher education to help solve this problem. And with it, though, I believe they're creating a bigger problem. So, kind of some backstory. Yeah. We have a technical college here that for the last couple years, they've slowly been chipping away at the hour requirements that is needed in the field, the on-the-job training. So, a residential wireman needs the 2 years or 4,000 hours, journeyman 8,000 hours, 4 years, and so on.
Yeah.
Well, they've slowly been chipping away at it, and last year on the ballot, there was a measure to pull funding that goes for our apprenticeships as well, but to mainly direct it at this technical college. And through that, they were able then to create a program to go after our residential wiremen. This program pretty much makes it where if you do 6 months of class work, you can then set for the residential wireman's test. It's not even half of the required on-the-job training hours. And I know this because we have a higher ed institution here that is offering that course. I've spoken with some students, so on and so forth. But now the bigger issue, and I saw this coming, TDLR and this technical college had a meeting last month, and they are looking at going after our journeyman license. And they call it a diploma to journeyman pathway. And what it would be is pretty much if you go to college for 2 years, you will get the 8,000 hours on the job training requirement hours to sit for the test.
So, I guess correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I'm understanding is instead of having the 8,000 hours in the field, which most people that's done in, it could be 3.5 years. Most people are 4 to 5 years. So you're saying if you go to this technical college for 2 years in the classroom, I'm sure they have some sort, or at least I would hope they have some sort of, hands-on or in-field portion to it. You're automatically credited that, 8,000 hours?
Yes, that's what they're hoping to do, just like what they've done with the residential.
That is absolutely mind-blowing. I guess it's maybe not the same stature, but that's kind of like taking a medical doctor or a surgeon and saying, well, you need I don't know how long residencies are, 4 years. We're going to take your 4-year residency in the field on a medical floor somewhere, and we're going to condense it down into 2 years in a classroom, and then you're good to go have surgery on someone. That's terrifying. How do you? It's
funny that you.
Oh no, sorry, you're good.
Ahead.
Nope.
I was going to say it's funny that you bring up the doctors, right? Because why is it that it's the trades that they expect to be able to cut back? We don't expect this from an attorney or from a doctor whose life is you're putting in their hands. What we do can kill us or kill someone else if it's not done right, but we're expected to water down our trade and profession.
And I think that kind of goes back, and I could be wrong, this is just my own opinion, I think that just goes back to the old stereotypes where a lot of people kind of look down on the construction trades as a whole. I'd hope that's not the case, but that's the only opinion I can, formulate on that. That's absolutely wild. And right now it's just occurring, as far as you know, right there, or right in Texas, but kind of like we were mentioning beforehand, if this is something that's beginning to roll out in a place like Texas, other states, especially if they're trying to get that new supply of electricians, they're going to follow suit, I'm going to assume. Obviously, I don't know if any other states are taking this pathway at the moment. I can't speak on that, but if it works in one place, they're going to try and implement it in many others, which is very scary.
That's correct.
How do you realistically grow the electrical workforce right now without lowering the licensing and safety standards that keep the industry reputable? At least in your opinion.
First, I would say first and foremost, and this is, I guess, my plea to our governor here. If you are a friend of labor, Governor Abbott, please extend an invitation to the IBEW. I would love to come in, or I'm sure any rep from the IBEW would love to come in and talk about this. That's the first and foremost thing is go to the source, go to people that have been doing this, and let's honestly have this conversation.
Yeah.
That's where we need to start. Because we have been doing this. Why are we pulling money from programs that are tried and true? We have that earn while you learn. Go, get you on the job, all of this. Unfortunately, when it comes to skilled labor, if you want skilled labor, you've got to put the time in. And that is how the trades are. That's how we're set. Stuff changes too fast. The technology. I mean, you get a 30-year journeyman that encounters a new problem, every day. You have to put that time in, and it's just unfortunate.
And it's kind of like you're mentioning, especially in the electrical industry. I mean, I can't speak for other trades. I'm sure it does, but with the just evolution of everything that the electrical trades encompasses now, whether it's could be bare bones like lighting controls, and then you get into mission critical facilities, and then you have hospital facilities. I mean, you have to know not just present day a lot, but they're ever evolving. All these new technologies, more efficient ways to not even do things, but more efficient technology to kind of lower the burden on all these facilities. It's kind of crazy, and to think that they're taking something, in my opinion, even over 8,000 hours. I mean, you still have a lot to learn after 8,000 hours. I know I for certain did, and I know many people. I mean, it's a good threshold, but definitely a lot to learn from there on. And taking that and just not only reducing that time frame, but then not having the hands-on experience, it's mind-boggling to me. Very surprising.
Well, and one thing too, if you want to get people into the trades, like especially out here, we have to have that serious conversation about the pay and the benefits. Yes. Why do I want to do a job in the hot sun and all of this and that when McDonald's is paying close to what I could come in entry level? Like we got to understand that hard hats and steel toes are building this country, and they don't need to make these dirt poor wages, So I think that's an honest conversation that needs to be had, too, all across the board, union and non-union, are the wages and the benefits to attract people.
That's very true. I've just in the past couple of months on social media, I've had people reach out, and they're very interested in the electrical trade. I've had different trades reach out to me, but for the electrical trade, but either A, they're coming from another job and they're like, I can't afford to take this massive pay cut, or B, like you just kind of mentioned, a lot of these young people, they can go work at a McDonald's or a Walmart, for instance, and make more money right away. I mean, obviously you have to see the long term in addition to the short term, but being young, I was young once, I didn't care about all the long term stuff. It was the here and now, so I completely understand it. It's very scary. What steps are being taken to create more consistency in code enforcement so electricians and contractors aren't dealing with different interpretations from one jurisdiction to the next, in your opinion?
So I will say, Texas is the Wild West. You come out in my area, you're lucky if you see an inspector that's going to ask you for your license. And it's unfortunate, and I'm trying to change that. But that's what you'll run into. Some jurisdictions, the city won't even enforce really those safeties that TDLR has put into place, for that. But yeah, it's still kind of that Wild West out here. And it is kind of that, well, why should I have to pay to get licensed or this and that kind of mentality, and I don't know if it's that, independence of Texas, right? Like, hey, we don't want to be told how to do stuff,
Yeah.
but you need those regulations and those guidelines. So that's the start there. Just really strengthening those fundamentals up, and then just trying to work together to strengthen the industry.
And that, yeah, I fully agree with that. It's I don't know the best way to put this. I guess something I'm kind of thinking about is I'd be curious to know if any like large corporations like a Meta or a Microsoft, if they're involved in any way in all this, because a lot of big projects that are here now and then forecasted are for a lot of these mega corporations, and it makes me wonder if they're involved in something like this, maybe in the background, and if not, I could foresee them being involved somewhere down the line. It's scary. With EV infrastructure, solar, and automation coming in fast, how is the board adapting licensing and continuing education so electricians are prepared for where the industry is going, not where it's been?
So, I know we're looking at that because I mean, I just was at an economic summit yesterday. We're looking at a data center coming into my backyard and all of this. So these conversations are coming up.
Yeah.
And this is where we do try to lead, with TDLR and keeping that in the forefront. I know on my end that is one thing, right, is that you got to adapt. And I think the IBEW knows that. I think we have been late in the game and some stuff, but I know at least here in Texas, because we got Elon Musk building, we got a lot of spaceports coming. Like, we are seeing that technology, and so we are trying to look at how can we be able to keep putting people to work. If the technology's coming, then let's learn to work on it. And so those are the avenues we're looking at, is how can we adapt? If it's coming, it's coming. We can either fight it and lose jobs, because I will say in Texas, I feel the IBEW, at least in my area, we kind of came up late to the game, right? I don't know if we looked at it as maybe a fad that wasn't, well, the open shop is cleaning our clocks on that when it comes out here. We're not trying to be like that with the data and the AI. We are taking a very proactive, like, no, what do we got to do to learn this technology? What do we got to do to be the ones that are going to be the essential workers for it? Because we don't want what happened with the solar. And you would think here, right, in Texas, we got sun, and more sun.
Yeah.
That should be our industry. We should have that 100%. And unfortunately, it's left to these fly-by-night companies that come in and just absolutely devastate communities by the shoddy work they do.
That's very true, and I kind of want to touch on that. It's not even, part of it is, I guess, working in those facilities like the AI data centers and whatnot, but another portion of that from an adaptability standpoint is construction as a whole adapting to AI and utilizing it in ways that can get rid of a lot of those just repetitious tasks that, in my opinion, I guess I'll kind of end it there because I don't want to, ruffle feathers. But yeah, adaptability, that's a big portion to that. I fully agree with you. From your perspective, where are we losing people in the pipeline between entry and licensure? And what changes could make the biggest impact in keeping more apprentices in the trade?
Well, I'll say I think this is kind of an interesting question, and as I was about to answer it, something dawned on me.
Yeah.
I am seeing the younger generation wanting to come into the trades, right? I've noticed a huge shift from the college route to them now wanting to go into the trades.
That's very
I
true.
think now then this is opening that discussion on, okay, how do we make these entry points better, right? The pay, being able to come in and say, okay, well, if I am bringing this individual in, right, I'm not just going to run the living, dog out of them being just to go for, like, no, I understand this individual's looking at this as a career and not a job, and actually then trying to bring them up through, or her through those routes. But I think we have to look at this as a corporation, right? Any major corporation, where those entry levels are what attracts that talent. If
That's
you're
true.
paying just scraps, you're not going to get that talent.
That's very true.
We can always even out on the back end, but we got to make the trade appealable to the people coming in, because if we don't get new blood, we're gone,
Uh,
and so we got to work that angle.
And it's kind of a catch-20 because, yeah, we need all these new people, but at the same time, when there's programs or facilities doing what we were talking about earlier, basically reducing everything down into a condensed version, we're going to have more bodies, hypothetically, but the knowledge isn't going to be there, so then you're just, in my opinion, in a worse state than you were to begin with. I'd rather have less bodies with the knowledge than a lot more bodies with virtually no knowledge, in my opinion. That's I mean, at the forefront, safety's probably number one in construction besides actual building, and you're just causing a bunch of walking safety hazards at that point, which is, I mean, that's scary.
And my understanding is that Texas holds one of the highest fatality rates in the construction industry in the nation.
Really?
So,
Did not know that. I mean, obviously, it's a bigger state. Yeah, regardless, wherever that is the case, or it wouldn't matter if it was in the state of Indiana, Ohio, or Texas. That's sad. At the end of the day, the goal in construction is obviously go build, but also go home safely. Looking 5 to 10 years out, what do you think the biggest change in the electrical industry that today's apprentices and journeymen need to start preparing for right now?
well, here I'll speak in Texas. If they do pass this diploma to journeyman, I have a feeling then they'll go after our master's license, and that's what allows someone to become a contractor. And I could see them trying to make some 4-year degree then turn into them being able to sit for their master's. So I think that's going to be an issue there, right? We're now going to get flooded with people that are not at that skill set that license is telling the contractor they should be at. So I see that being an issue that we have to watch out for. Far as nationally, it is that technology aspect, right? Because
Yeah.
I never would have thought we would be this advanced. I mean, I'm even blown away. And I think it's just going to keep going and going. So
Yeah.
we have to keep that in mind, It's that old story, or story as old as time. If I can get something to do it cheaper and faster, and especially a machine that I don't have to pay or watch, why wouldn't I go that route? And so we
Yeah.
just got to make sure and monitor it and be aware of what's happening, not turn a blind eye to it.
That's very true, and I mean, I hate to say it, but I feel like a lot of trade organizations are doing that at the moment. I think they think if they're not talking about it, maybe they don't want to acknowledge it. Maybe I think some of it honestly comes down to the age of leadership. A lot of the leadership is older, so they're like, I'm on my way out. I don't care. Hopefully that's not the case, but that's kind of the way I feel. I do think a younger leadership is needed, especially over the next 5 to 10 years. Instead of putting the 60-year-old person in a place of leadership, maybe we start trying to get younger leadership. But obviously, to do that, they have to still be qualified, but you also have to attract them. It has to make sense to take on that role. So it's kind of like anything else in life. But when they, I guess something that, not really off the script, but something I didn't have scripted, when they're having these meetings, I guess, and this might be a dumb question, but is the general public allowed sitting in on them?
So like the last meeting they had, the first one to discuss this diploma to journeyman, it was virtual. They are going to be meeting in person on the 25th of this month, and this is how fast it moved. 25th of this month, they could actually vote to approve this. I mean, so within a month. But my understanding, and we're monitoring it, is that this meeting should be open to the public, I believe, for public comment. Of course, with the virtual, they set up a email where you could then comment. So, of course, we tried to flood the TDLR comment section on it, letting them know this isn't a good idea. But how they did it with the residential wiremans. They kept meeting virtually, and then when they wanted it to go to the vote, my understanding is at the last minute they held an in-person meeting right outside of Waco somewhere, and it failed by one vote, or I should say it passed by one vote.
Really?
So that's kind of the measures. And I'm not trying to say that they were trying to do something underhanded, but I do think, yeah, if we had to look at it, I don't think it was as honest as it could have been. Far as you've done all your meetings virtual, and then at the last minute, when it votes coming, you're going to throw it in person. So
it's something that's kind of been playing in my head because I'm actually in the process of trying to get my own contractor's license here in the state of Ohio. There's I can't even say the word. Basically allows you, so like in Ohio, it reciprocates. In Kentucky, I think Indiana, a few other states. That is going to be something that would hypothetically be an issue. Then if someone can go to Texas, have not even half the experience really required, their license in Texas, I'm assuming, I don't know which states they reciprocate with, but I'm assuming it would still reciprocate with whatever states. Is that accurate?
yes, we do have states. Some states we don't. So with us, in order for us to recognize you as a JIW, you have to have been working under a master. So I believe some states have it where that contractor signs off. Well, here the contractor signs off, but they have to have a master's license number. That master's license is what verifies it. So that's where our issues come in with reciprocating with other states, is if that master's requirement isn't there, Texas won't look at them. And we have worked it where it is a little easier to get them to be able to sit and test for a Texas Journeyman.
No, I guess I was more so meaning as a contractor, because I believe you were saying this program could hypothetically reduce down the amount of time, therefore the knowledge to get your master's license there, which is, I guess, is that the contractor's license in Texas? Is that what you're referencing?
Yes, that would be our. So the master's then allows you to get that contractor's license. You have to have that master's.
So in theory, then you're reducing everything down, and someone that shouldn't be allowed to sit in on a contractor's test is now taking the test. Assuming they pass it, they're free to open up a business in Texas, and then if it reciprocates with, I don't know any other states it reciprocates with, but they could go do business in New Mexico, for instance, if that's one of the states.
Yes, if we get to where we have it as the masters, I could see, yes, that's exactly what would happen, because they have that contractor's license now. I mean, that where they're going, they're not going to know that they really don't have that time in the field. They're just going to see that license and say, well, if the state of Texas says he's good, why aren't they good?
And this is something where I've talked with people from different organizations. I guess I can't really say where, but I guess on a larger stage, I know Texas and your local and specifics being involved. Are there other locals in Texas that are trying to put a stop to this with you guys, or are you guys kind of single-handedly doing this yourselves at the moment?
Oh, no. So I'll give a lot of credit to 602. A brother that was with them actually sits on the TDLR board.
Oh, nice.
I have great communication with them. So a lot of what 602, the Amarillo Lubbock local, they're monitoring this very heavily. I'm coming in, as well as then dealing with our 7th District political director, Jennifer Ellis, reaching out to her saying, hey, look, we need to watch this. She created not a press release, but a press release we sent out to all the BAs. We're trying to make this a state coordinated effort to stop it. We're from the top down. We're trying to hit it on every avenue.
That's what I was getting at without having to say it, because I don't know what all I can say and when I can say it, but I'm glad to hear there's other locals involved, and I'm glad the district's involved in some capacity. And that's where the whole term solidarity comes into play, and I'm glad to see that's actually a thing in this instance. Are there any other critical or key points you want to hit on for this in specific?
So they are already doing this with the plumbers. This isn't just specific to the electrical industry. I have a feeling that they're going to try to go after all the trades. And if this goes through and they keep doing it, I see it emulating. And we just have to be vigilant. Our head has to be on a swivel constantly. And that I would just say, keep an eye out. I get it, right? Texas, all this and that, but that kind of saying, Texas leads the nation. And if it can pass here because of our size and just all this and that, it does light that blueprint for other states to follow with a lot easier route, I should say. So just, be vigilant. If you see something like this coming up, have a say and be active.
And that's one of the things. It's not enough. Texas is obviously a right-to-work state. If it does pass in Texas, hopefully it does not, but if it does, then I think you're definitely going to see it right away in other right-to-work states. And then it's only a matter of time before they try to get into non-right-to-work states. And then, given the current administration, that's something they would be all for. It kind of is what it is, but that's the sad reality. So, like you said, staying proactive, that's going to be critical. Having not only members involved, but leadership involved, that's going to be critical. And then obviously spreading awareness. Nothing gets far at all if there's not awareness to it. It's like an apprenticeship program. You could have the best apprenticeship program, but if there's no awareness brought to it, it's not going to do anything. So awareness is big. That's very scary. It's kind of mind-boggling that's where society is today, willing to sacrifice safety. Basically, every bad thing you could envision, they're willing to sacrifice for a profit. It's I don't really know what else to say about that. That's scary. And it's kind of a smack in the face to the trades, in my opinion, because like you said earlier, they're not doing it with lawyers, they're not doing it with doctors. Not that I'd want them to either, but why are you choosing skilled trades, people that are keeping the world running? Like, it makes zero sense to me. In my opinion, it's a smack in the face to all tradespeople.
Yeah. And this is the thing here too, right? Is how they're driving this. This isn't a union, non-union issue. It's not a partisan issue. Yeah. How they're pushing it, right, is if we have a shortage. So they're hitting on both sides, and I get it, right? We got a shortage. We need to figure it out. But they need to go to the people that have been doing this for years and years and years and already have that blueprint. But that's where they're selling it is this avenue. It's not a blue or a red or any of that. They're trying to just shoot it straight down the middle and say, hey, look, this is a Manning job site issue. Let us step in.
My question still becomes then, you take the same concept as whether it's a union or non-union apprenticeship. If you want more people, incorporate them into those apprenticeships. Obviously it's a lot easier said than done, and I know there's other aspects that go into it, but I don't understand taking someone hypothetically just fresh off the street, having them sit in a classroom for 2 years and saying, well, you're good to go as an electrician. Best of luck. That data center that you're going to be in next month, best of luck. That doesn't make sense. And then you're eventually going to get to the point where you have non-skill training non-skill, and then what happens at that point?